Namaste, good afternoon to everybody. My name is Pathikrit Pain and I welcome you all for another episode of SPMRF podcast. Today we have somebody with us who does not need an introduction. He's a very well-known popular face in television media and in YouTube programs. He's always, sought after for his views on geopolitics, international affairs, internal politics, domestic politics rather, and on issues related to strategic security and technology. He has a very proficient career in the corporate world. Have worked across several companies, have been abroad for a long time. So he comes with a rich repository of experience. So I would welcome Mr. Sumit Peer for this program. तो हम तो उन्हें सुमित भैया बोलते हैं, but for the sake of the audience and large, I would say Mr. Sumit Peer, welcome you once again. You have been in SPMR program in the past as well, and it was a very well received program. So today, what we would discuss, Sumit ji, is basically the issue that we are witnessing nowadays, whether it is in United States or India, the issue about disinformation getting a lot of amplification, especially in social media, and then it creating a narrative which is not always the reality. Reality is something and the narrative build-up is something else. To that extent that hatred gets justified. We have seen what happened in the unfortunate incident in United States recently. But the background, sir, you would know better than me that for the last 3 4 years, Trump was literally censored in certain social media, sites, and there was a vitiated campaign against him that he would end democracy, he would end constitution, and that he should be, punched in the face. All kinds of statements were made by people who are pretty well known, even by his president of the United States. So, how to deal with this issue of disinformation? How to deal with this one-sided narrative building, which is harming the world and which is destroying the space for debates, conversations, and scope for hearing the other side. How do you look at do it? First of all, I welcome you again and over to you, Sumit.
First of all, I would thank you very much for having me on the show. Really a pleasure, and I thank all your team and all your viewers for getting me this opportunity to come to your esteemed show. Thank you very much, Pratikit Bhai. I also call him Chota Bhai. Thank you very much for that. And always a pleasure to be with you on TV shows and all. We share a lot of things in common. Now, thanks for all the kind words you had for me. I really appreciate it. I am stand humbled. Now, let's start the conversation. Look, the problem what the world is facing is two. World has been always run by vested interest groups. World has been always run by the people who want to control part may by all means, all the way, all the time. They don't believe in boundaries. They don't even believe in any kind of a setup which stops them. Now, when these people want to be in the power, they created these tools eventually. These tools were created as, the legs of octopus, which helped him to get the prey nearer and then to, pierce the prey and eat him up. That is, sorry, I have to be a bit direct. That is what it is. Now, these people usually will identify a person, government and individual and institution which doesn't fit in their scheme of things. A crack team is usually formed wherein the people from the principal team and some people are locally and regionally join in, and this principal team looks at the mission. When they look at the mission, they find, okay, this is the mission, this is the person, and this has to be dismantled. For example, if you look at Trump, first you try to sue him, then you try to get him out of the electoral race, then you try to put all kinds of allegations on him. Then before the Republican convention, you tried to knock him down because when nothing was working, then finally somebody tried to knock him down. And the apathy is, we are told that there's a 20-year-old boy he got a rifle, he goes on a rooftop and just decides to kill the president of United States of America, former president and president in making of United States of America. And that too, the person who's almost sure that he will make it this time. That is what the things look like. And then we have special services, we have the police, we have the complete law and order machinery. They cannot find this, and he walks in and does it. Now, the point what if there are 10 of them? If one can set a bullet through the air, if there are 10 of them, then the president is dead. Forget 10 of them. What if there are 10 hardcore terrorists or jihadis who make it to the rooftop? Then every president is dead. Every VIP on planet Earth is dead. Then what is the security cordons and all the arrangements and all about? then are you telling us that the people at will or some terrorists can get on a rooftop and kill anybody on planet Earth? How does this happen? And what I find apathy is that, when you started this process of, he's against the election, he's against the constitution, there'll be autocratic, country is doomed, the world is doomed. But when you get it around a person, he's the only person, brother, who his net was lower after he became the United States of America president. All others' net worth has gone two times, three times, four times. He's the only person jiska kam hua hai. I mean, his net worth has bought down by 33%, right? So he didn't make money after becoming a president, while others all made the money. Point number one. Point number two, when you go and you look at our neighbor, which is China, and say, look, we are losing $600 billion of trade deficit with them, and China is where the threat is coming from. He called the Chinese virus. People, they don't like him. You want to talk and say, I want to stop this war between Russia and Ukraine. Again, the central military complex and all, they don't like you. Now you want to say, I want to have an immigration ban. Again, the people who run their life and butter and all the political campaigns, they don't like you. Now you say there will be a Muslim ban. Suddenly all the Muslim countries will not like you. Then you say, I will clean up the universities of the United States of America because they've been infestated by leftists and these works. So these people don't like you. Then you call out in the French election, look, what happened? How come 1% of the Jews are not safe in a 90% Christian country? Because the chief rabbi of France told the Jews, leave the country because you are not safe here. Now, when you call out the shots, when you say, I'll stop this war, I'll do this, I'll do this, I'll do this, if I was there, the Hamas would have not dared to attack Israel, right? And again, that has become a big war machinery now. So I don't want, this would have not happened. So when you are upsetting a lot of paradigms in the world, which make money, which give some people power, and which make sure some people are in the power. So this upsets the basic paradigm. When the paradigm is upset, the cabal is made. The principal team, some local people get together and identify the target. So what they do to identify the target, the media, social media, and all things are used. A narrative is built in the people slowly, slowly, slowly. Bhai, ye villain hai, ye villain hai, ye villain hai, ye villain hai. Look at our Bollywood movies. We, even if you look over the time, we made various kinds of villains. First of all, the industrialist was the villain. Then a Pandit with a tribund and tika was default a villain. He was a villain. He used to have alcohol in the mandir, that was shown. He used to he literally rape in the premises of the mandir. He was a leecher, what we say in Hindi. This narrative and notion was made. Okay, these Pandits are like this, industrialists is like this. And so slowly, slowly, these narratives get set into the people's mind. Now, you will appreciate and understand people like you and me who do it daily understand all this. The common man on the ground doesn't understand when these things are fed to him.
Yeah, interestingly, Dada, I just want to add. So the industrialist was always portrayed in Bollywood as a smuggler.
Huh.
So and the villain would be, unfortunately, the brandishing of the villain is almost like the Thakur would be the villain. And right, and the Pandit would be looked up down as somebody who is very opportunistic. So
Creepy.
Very creepy, very deliberate brandishing of certain communities, caste as in a negative color. So interestingly, what you're saying is, and I agree to you, probably what is happening is that probably it has happened for a long time. You see, movies have been depicting it. Today, with the help of social media, it is getting even more extrapolated,
Amplified. So you did that. Then if I take you to Sholay, of all the people, of all the evil happening in that village, there was one Karim Chacha who was saying when his son died, "Bhai, masjid ka rasta kahan hai?" Let's not be kids. We all understand what is all this about, right? In Vastav, I am not a Bollywood specialist, but again, there was one Suleiman Mia who was the good guy, and all others were crooks, and even the Neta is depicted as a chore. By default, a Neta is a chore. Even for the netas, no neta is, every neta is a chore. He has nexus with criminals. He's a womanizer. He's an alcoholic. मतलब जितनी भी बुराई संसार में है, सब उसमें है. That is how the neta is depicted. So what do you slowly tell to the samaj, neta is a chore, industrialist is a chore, pandit is a chore. Now only a Karim Chacha, possibly, or a Rahim Chacha is the only epitome of virtue and truth. So that is slowly you get depicted. Now when these things go to the social media, then you had a infusion of, let's say, Khans into the Bollywood, and who was funding that, we all know. So these Khans became the epitome, they became the center and all, and then all of them marrying Hindu girls. Then it became the fad. And then there was a notion that Okay, it's okay to do this, all this. I'm not getting into personal lives of people. Then eventually, what was the byproduct of that, brother, was love jihad. Love jihad started as a byproduct of that. When you could not do it, this to वैसे करते हैं. Now, when with the advent of social media, these things started becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. And with smartphones, when we have sold around 1.3 billion smartphones in this country, when our data is cheapest in the world, anybody can have access to them. Then came Instagram, we started making reels. So everybody was lured into this, what we call in Hindi, this Maya Jal, artificial world which was created where you set the parameters, where you define the roles. So social media became a very powerful tool to get those things kind of endorsed by the masses. So suddenly millions and a billion people say it's okay, yeah, it's okay, it's fine. When we look at these protests happening in US universities, we say they are doing for Palestine. No, they are pro-Hamas. But we don't say pro-Hamas. We have branded it pro-Palestine. We are not saying they're supporting Hamas. We're saying, oh, they're Palestine. And has any of these protesters utter a word against Hamas? They will not utter a word against Palestine. But do they utter a word against Hamas? Do they sympathize with the Jews? Doesn't the charter of Hamas say that till the time any Jew survives on planet Earth, the din of Akhirat or Qayamat will not come? That is the declared charter of Hamas. I'm not casting aspersions. This is the reality of today's life. When these things happen, the narratives are built, millions and billions get involved, and suddenly one kind of a mindset prevails. रहीम चाचा अच्छे हैं और ये पंडित जी बहुत खराब व्यक्ति है, right? Then anybody who is a pandit or who is a industrialist or who is a thakur is kind of a bad, वो villain है. It's kind of that notion is set. Now, when you use social media, you amplify the same. Now, this has creeped into politics, what we saw in Donald Trump. Now, what do we do to counter this? Now, we know there's a problem. This is a very effective tool. This can kind of radicalize masses, if I can use the word radicalize masses. You can opinionate people, and you can catch youth at a very young stage. Get them in the college, get them at the age of 18, 19. And by the time, now you have how many? You have 60 to 70 years left. So when you attack the colleges, then you have around 70 years yet. You've got that mindset engraved on the brains. You have 70 years of leverage on that mindset. In a 70 years, in a typical 5-year election cycle, so how many times? You will vote 14 times. So in a way, you are building your indirect vote bank, which is going to vote for you for your ideology, and how this works. Now, the question is, now we know it is there. Now, question is, how do we counter it? Look, the
So
best.
before that, sir, I would ask you a question. What happened in United States and what is happening in USA for the last 3-4 years, where we also saw, interestingly, that Russian channels are banned in US and Western Europe, which means you do not get the other version of what is happening in that conflict. We have seen something similar happening in India as well, where Prime Minister Modi in the last 10 years, at least in terms of fighting against corruption, at least in terms of fighting against narcotics, or fighting against the arms lobbies, fighting against the sleeper cells, and fighting against institutional corruption, he has been reasonably successful. He has, through GST and demonetization, a lot has been done to make the economy much more formal, mainstreaming of economy is. And then this entire, so on one hand, interestingly, when the world was saying that India has become the 5th largest economy, and RBI report now says that 8 crore jobs have been created in the last few years, there was this disinformation campaign which was created that there are no jobs. There was a disinformation campaign created that constitution will be changed, and it worked to a certain extent.
Correct.
So whether it is US or India, how do you see that 3 years, 4 years down the line, when social media will be far more powerful, when everyone would have 2 smartphones instead of 1, its impact, because in the morning everybody opens the YouTube shorts and Instagram reels first before even going to read the newspaper.
Correct.
So newspaper would have some, say, speech of Prime Minister Modi or something, RBI data, but he's not bothered to read that. He is looking at the YouTube shorts, and who creates the YouTube shorts? Whoever creates, whatever lies is put in over there, that becomes the gospel truth.
Correct.
How are we to deal with it?
You see, you're brought in a very, very interesting perspective. I must compliment you for that, because I am seeing I will answer your question in 2 parts. First, I'm seeing a striking similarity. What exactly was done to President Trump? Because he's a nationalist, he did all these things. And let's not forget the PCAOB Act, which literally broke the back of the Chinese economy. Right after that, I predicted within 6 to 8 quarters, you will see visible cracks in Chinese economy, which started coming. Now, Prime Minister Modi exactly did whatever was in the interest of nation, what was in the supreme national interest, he did everything. He displeased a lot of people. A lot of lobbies were disenchanted, and they had all the things, kind of, they had all the guns blazing against him politically, wherever they could. So here we see Prime Minister Modi and President Trump all on the same lines when it comes to nation first. Here we see also one striking similarity. You see, if I take you to Japan, Shinzo Abe was the largest and the most stable prime minister of Japan, and with no corruption charges. Suddenly, we come to know he was walking on the street when one net case comes and takes him out. Right. Now, Victor Orban, again, trying to talk pro-Hungary, trying to take his national interest first, not walking along with a lot of lobbies.
Yeah.
And again, attempt was made on him. Even if you go back to Russia, Russia is not a fully democracy. Kuch to hai. It's not an autocracy like China. But even attempts were made on Putin's life. Again, if you look from where Yeltsin left Russia and where Putin pulled it off, he also did a commendable job for Russia. America
Yes.
may or may not like it, but he did a commendable job for Russia. So if you look Shinzo Abe, if you look Donald Trump, if you look Obama, Viktor Orban, then you look what is his name? Putin. And finally, let's not forget what happened to Prime Minister Modi in Punjab. We were literally in that situation. He was on a sting duck on a flyover 10 kilometers from Pakistan within the artillery range. We had people just 100 meters away from him. And the then Chief Minister of Punjab was saying, Are goliyan to nahi chali. So you were hoping that the bullets will be fired and all. Remember, Prime Minister Modi did not step out of his car. That was a very close, I would say, hit and miss. We were lucky there, by the grace of Lord, he was saved. So when you look at all these things, I see a trend, brother, which is shaping up. When nothing works, you have to kind of take them out. Now, coming to the second part of the question. Yes, you're right. Social media and all will crop up. It will all become possible. I'll give you an analogy how in today's time a lot of brands get launched. Because today, when you have to launch a brand, what do you use? You use a lot of influencers. Because how do you counter narrative? Narrative cannot be countered. The YouTube cannot be countered by Indian Express. I'm just taking a name. YouTube has to be countered at YouTube level. Insta has to be countered at Insta level. Lobbies have to be countered at lobbies level, and newspapers have to be countered at newspaper level. Look at mainstream media. You and me, we do a lot. We are contributing. We are giving the facts. We are taking a lot of people. I know a lot of people don't like us for that, which is okay. We are doing on the media now. But how strong are we on the social media today? Mainstream media and newspapers, okay, we are doing some good job, I would say. But how strong are we on the social media today? The best way is we have to cultivate and groom a bunch, and maybe 1,000, 100,000, I don't know how many these influencers who will counter the narrative. Because what happens, every influencer has his own quadri of people whom he influences. Let's say I may be able to influence 100,000 people. You may be able to influence 200,000 people, right? So we need people like you and me and various other people who will keep on, challenging those narratives and challenging those things and talking them out. Then secondly, at a government level, you need to have a media authority wherein all these fake narratives and news has to be taken down very adamantly. You have to be mercilessly with them. Point number three, you also need to come up with your own flavor of social media. I'm not saying leave YouTube or leave Insta. No, you should have your own flavor as well, because push comes to shove, you should have something as a backup. What if tomorrow they decide to shadow ban you? What if tomorrow the algorithms are set in a way that my voice never reaches, which is happening with a lot of us? Our voices is not
Yes.
reaching a lot of people. I mean, it's just one algorithm. I have to tweak it. Two commands here and there. You and me are disappeared. We will never see the light of the day. But I don't care about what the people in America think, at least about me right now. But I am caring what do the people of my country think about my prime minister, and how I am able to at least counter the narrative vis-a-vis with my prime minister, with my electorate, with my people, with my countrymen. So our brand of social media is also required. And thirdly and fourthly, what we have to do is that even at a politics level and all, we have this tendency as Indians, अरे छोड़ो यार क्या फर्क पड़ता बोलने दो नहीं, this is wrong. Each and everything must be countered. Now you will depend who is going to counter it. Is it a featherweight or is it a super heavyweight? I'm just putting in the boxing terminology. You have to decide who is going to counter it. But if you let things are uncountered, if you let things prevail, then you have a much bigger problem, because a lot of people will start thinking, इन्होंने तो कुछ बोला नहीं, they never said anything. Looks to be true. Then they will hamper more and more and more and more and come. And all these social media giants, we know, let's be fair, we know this election we had a interference from a lot of people out of a country, a lot of social media giants out of country, and they were very targeted to what one particular community, one particular district. We even know that there were campaigns which were targeted to a particular district only. You can fine tune them in the social media. It's all algorithms. I want this narrative to be going in this direction. Bhai Modi ne naukri nahi di, for example. So this narrative, if it had some grounds in Purvanchal, so a lot of such videos, a lot of such content was seen only in Purvanchal in those districts. Modi ji ne naukri nahi di. Now, again, the notion of that Naukri means a government job with a PFI and ESI number, while the economics says job is an opportunity to earn, right? Where you are able to earn. What I always talk on TV debates and YouTube, I say, you, me, and there are a lot of others, we are perpetually unemployed. We don't have a Sarkari Naukri, we don't have a PF and a ESI number. So how are we paying our taxes? How are we surviving? We are doing something. So, the notion has to go that job is a Sarkari Naukri and all. Then this constitution will be dismantled. There'll be no election when Modi comes to power. So these narratives had to be rebutted at each and every level. What we need is a carpet bombing of narrative, because you can't control the algorithms. But if you can do the carpet bombing of your area with those small, little, big influencers and those people who matter, local channels, regional newspapers, it has to be done. So at a party level or a government level, an authority has to be built, which will disseminate and control it even at a district level or a taluka level. So this is the message which has to go into the UP. This is the message which will go into Uttaranchal. This is the message which will go into this district. This is the message which will go into this district. You might have to do it a bit manually. You have to control the narrative. And that old school, how we control the IT right now is we are just hampering what has opposition said. I'm not interested in what Rahul Gandhi has said. Well, for example, or any leader has said. Whatever he said is said. What is our answer? What is the truth? Let's focus not on Mr. XYZ saying this and trying to be sympathetic. Oh, dekho ji kya bol diya. Let's counter. Let's be more interested in countering that, because they will do what they have to do. Look, they are in election mode. They are in politics. They will try to spin these narratives and all, rather than talking, "Arey kya bol diya." Now we are enhancing that narrative. What should be the logic? The logic should be to counter each and every of that narrative factually, right? Rather than amplifying that and trying to be sympathetic. Dekho saab kya bol diya hame. Oh, they have said this to us. No, I'm not interested in that. Let's counter these narratives as and when and most effectively and in the shortest possible time. Because if you let them stick for 2-3 days, already some people have a change of heart and mind. They are thinking, maybe it looks like true. Maybe it is true. So what are we doing? What is our turnaround time? If there's a narrative which is being spun, what is our turnaround time? How are we countering the narrative? The policy of letting it go, the policy of dekhte hain, chalta hai. These two things, brother, have to go out of the picture. We have to set the narrative. We don't have to respond to the narratives. We have to set it. When you are even, go into the attack mode, offensive defense. Offensive defense is the best defense. You call out these, what we get this cottage industry in the West, which gives us these approval ratings, which gives us democracy ratings, which gives us hunger ratings. We control 40% of the food basket of the world, and yet we are hungry. I mean, do you believe it? We are we are autocratic. So they have given us some autocratic democracy or something. Or there's some NGO sitting in a basement in a garage in somewhere in Sweden, maybe 20 by 20 space. 3 people are sitting and giving us a rating. What have we done to counter our ratings? What have we done to build our institutions? Lobbying is a powerful thing which works in the West. So if lobbying is there, we have to do our lobbying. If social media is there, we have to do our social media part. And after some time, go on the aggressive mode. Don't be always, because brother, if you are, agar aap defensive mein hai, you can be 80% efficient. If you are in offensive defense, you can be 120% efficient. So that a balanced 20% is what the game changer is. Let's not always be ducking. Let's not always be, trying to defend. Nahi, humne aisa nahi kiya. Let's take on. Let's call out the shots. Let's tell them this is what you are doing. I mean, what we see Dr. Jaishankar Saab has been doing, quite often, which is kind of, now he's setting the narrative, which I like. He's pushing them to back. Now they have to come back and say, this is what we have done. But this kind of approach we have seen from all over the government and all over the ministries coming, which needs basically a change of strategy.
So I have a question here, sir, for you. So first and foremost, do you think there should be some kind of regulation on the social media and deep tech giants? Because once you are manipulating allegedly with the algorithms and using AI to amplify certain kind of views, certain kind of narrative, and constraining or restricting the amplification or spread of another kind of view, or perhaps the truth, then you are not an independent company, you are partisan. then you cannot get be termed as neutral. So how do you deal with a situation like that? So I believe either you should have a strong regulation on that, or you ask these all these deep tech giants who are operating in India, they should mandatorily at least dilute 26% of their stake in the Indian subsidiary, create an Indian subsidiary, dilute 26% stake, and have an Indian representative in the board of directors. Because it can't go on like this. Of course, the second option is to have your own tech sovereignty, where you come up with your own alternatives of search engine, you know, a replacement for your social media. The way China has completely firewalled itself, it might take time. It doesn't happen in one. So, do you think we should have some kind of a regulation on the functioning of tech giants in India? And also, do you think we require a law on preventing foreign intervention, foreign interference in Indian elections? Though it is not easy to prove it, it is not
Correct.
easy. And do you think we should have a law, a strong law on fake news? We have absolutely no problem. We are generally neutral. We are nationalists. We are not actually, talking about any particular political party, but we are nationalists. So when we talk about nationalism, we are absolutely fine with different kinds of views being discussed. No problem with that. But the problem happens with amplification of a certain view, and the problem happens with instant fake news,
Correct.
fake news being amplified. That is not something which is healthy for any country. So,
Correct.
do you think we require legal recourse to this as well? Because if you don't have laws in place, then this thing will be done by the media giants, because they are all having the servers way back in US. You can't do anything right now. How do you deal with a situation like
You're absolutely right. Look, I think it was a news channel 5 or 6 years back. The Facebook challenge had come, this 10-year challenge. And I was speaking with the managing editor, and he said, "So, what do you think this is?" I said, "What I'm going to tell you, you will not like it, but after 5 years, we'll be debating this." He said, "What is it?" Or 7 years. I said, "Look, data is the business, we are the product. That is the reality of the social media. It's all about data. Solo, we are the product which makes that data. Now, this data can be at times allegedly manipulated for better commercial gains. We have seen there are companies like Cambridge Analytica, the various other names which have come up, and we have known they have interfered with the electoral process of India. Now, who hired them and all, we are not getting into that. This is all in the open media. We don't need to talk about that. Now, these interferences happen because, when you are talking of an economy becoming from fifth to third biggest, you will be displacing a lot of powers, you will be displacing a lot of wealth, you will be displacing a lot of power centers. So nobody will let you cakewalk through that. So all these kind of things will be done. You will be stopped. You will be kind of cajoled. This pinprick diplomacy will happen. All tricks of the trade will be used against you to stop you. And one of the effective thing is to, when we are doing this to you, have this social media and the media used in a way, this doesn't look awkward. This looks normal. This looks normal. This is what happened. This is what was bound to happen. So that is, they are doing an expectation management using your social media and using all these things. Now, when you come to the social media giants, first of all, there's a distinction between a platform and a publisher. Now, if they have algorithms, how they can be a platform? How they can be a publisher? So they can be a platform. They cannot be a platform because editing is not only with the pen and eraser or you edit a Word document. Again, you are editing two algorithms. You can cut my video, you can suspend my account, you can stop my reach. What is that? Isn't that editing? So anybody who has control over algorithms, it is editing. You see,
that? Absolutely.
how is that TV a free media? When you and me are on TV, we are on a satellite stream. There is no way they can stop us. Whatever we say will go absolutely then and there. Next fraction of a second, maybe a 1 crore or 2 crore people have heard it out. So that I will call free media because there's no algorithm in between. It's uploaded to a satellite and satellite broadcasters. Anybody with a TV set on listens to what you and me are saying. But when it comes to social media, the notion in the market or the notion with the common people is there's no editing here. Only editing is limited to a newspaper or a portal. No, algorithms are the biggest editor. They are that invisible letter, and when I add AI on it, and when I feed it into the data through IoT, they become the super editor, super master, and they can even set the narratives. That is what exactly has happened. So anybody who has algorithms cannot be a platform, has to be the right of a publisher. Now, if you're a publisher, then you can be held accountable as per the law of the land. Today they run away saying, "Look, I don't know anything. I'm a platform. मुझे क्या पता what happened." This is all sorry. I don't agree to it. Technically speaking, you have algorithms, you have publishers. Is the first notion has to go that. Second thing is, yes, you are accountable in India because I'm talking of 1.4 billion people, their lives, their livelihoods. I'm talking of the interest of my country. You are accountable in India. 26% stake is a brilliant idea. In due course of time, it might be even brought up to 49%. I mean, if they want business here, bring it up to 49%. You can appoint your set of people. Unless until you have a subsidiary and you have an entity here, how do you hold them responsible? We have seen this fiasco what happened with BBC. We all know what happened then with those tax evasions and all that. So we're not getting into that right now. But third and the most important thing is we are facing the problem of fake news, and there are some alleged self-proclaimed fact checkers. There also the new breed of fact checkers have come. Bhai. The reincarnation of Einstein's have come up, and they have come up, and they will tell you what is right and what is wrong. The problem is that because due to the laws, lack of laws, and lack of action, unless and until these fact checkers and the cabal is not handled by the law, is not taken to the task for spreading venom within the country, this venom will keep on spreading. This partial news which they bring up and they will try to bring down. And unless and until there are few case studies which are made about, from the members of this alleged cabal, then what is the deterrence? We don't want to create a Draculain state like China. But what is the deterrence? If there is no deterrence, they will be more and more emboldened. Today they will do this, kal ye karenge, parso ye karenge. So the deterrence has to be strong. The cost has to be strong. Look, after you in UP or wherever, when the properties get attached, when the houses get bulldozed, and when they have to pay for the damages, a lot of crap has stopped. In J&K, when the Hurriyat was stopped, the money coming in was stopped from through these NGOs and all. Stone pelting stopped. At the end of the day, if there are no personal consequences, brother, to you and me, of anybody, we can say whatever we want. Unless until there are personal consequences, then we'll be very, very careful in saying what we want to do. Again, the social media and all works through the people on the ground. They are the media, but they don't create the content. They amplify the content. Who is the content creator? You can control them and also create the content creator. So here you regulate them by the law and all, but who is the content creator? What is this so-called fact checker? What is this identity? Who has created this identity? How can you and me say I am the fact checker? It's something like saying, there was one guy who used to write Majorly General. People thought he's a Major General. He will write Majorly General. So who is this fact checker? Where have these new breed of fact checkers come? How are they led to survive in the system? Okay, you be a influencer and give your opinion. But the motion which goes on, he is a fact checker. He's a fact checker. He's checking the facts. These things have to be nipped in the bud. And right now, and last point I want to make is, look, whatever you say, whatever you want to do, there will be people who will be interfering in your internal affairs. You can't stop. So I'm not saying like China, just put this all media out and put your media, but have your own media. You should have a hot redundance. Because when the social media and people know, these guys of the West, that there's an option available here, push comes to shove, this will move here. You know how much of their wealth and valuation comes from India? Tremendously they are dependent on India. And unless and until you take the financial cost to their doorstep, when you create a viable option, today they know you don't have a viable option. Kya kar loge?
I just want to add, I just want to add one thing here because you're talking about alternatives. Man Ki Baat by Modi ji was a brilliant alternative to social media and everything else.
Correct.
What I strongly believe is that the FM channels and radio in India is underutilized for spreading the true information or having discourse. I see no reason why FM should only be used. I mean, FM radio channels should only be used for these Bollywood songs and all these discussions at night about somebody having a breakup and how to deal with it. Every day you have the same thing. Instead, the way Prime Minister Modi have this conversation with 1 billion people in his country through radio, that I think should be amplified by using radio as an alternative, and there these tech giants can't do anything. So
Correct.
you can use radio for your communication with the country. You should have news debates, you should have current affairs debates, you should have different kinds of programs. Unfortunately, radio is totally underutilized in this country, and we are too much dependent on this social media. What do you think about
Bang on. 101% correct, because I completely concur with your point. There's a lot we can do with the radio. And what is the cost of the radio? 300 rupees, 400 rupees I can buy. Even if I buy a wireless speaker, I get the radio free with it. 700 rupees, I get radio included in it. So, there was a time, when we were too much dependent on radios. Then came social media. So if we utilize the radios, that is the one important thing. The second thing I want to bring to your notice is what we need to do is, look, today we were told BBC is the epitome of truth. We were told whatever CNN tells you, I salam karo. We have to take our Doordarshan, for example, and make it international. If an Al Jazeera from a small island, I call Qatar Island, with due respect, from a small island can become the news mirror of the world, why can't Doordarshan become the news mirror of the world? Why doesn't Doordarshan be made international? Because at the end of the day, India, I'll tell you one thing. We have more than 1,000 satellite channels. We have more than 300 plus news channels. And if you compare it with US, we have 50 satellite channels and all. In India, we have more than 4 lakh publications, and UN, we have around 4,000 publications. There is no country which is as free and fair in media as India. Yet, we are facing the brunt of it because it is not channelized properly. It is not channelized properly in a way it should be. You see, YouTube channels, which people like you and me and all, we do at times the shows. We are able to build some narrative, but again, we're able to debunk a lot of propaganda, but we have a limited reach. We can never have the reach of for example, a Doordarshan. We can never have a reach of a radio, what you rightly. So if we get all these resources put together, and it's a brilliant idea of having debates on radio. Why not have debates on radio? I mean, this can be easily done. Why only limiting it to Bollywood songs? And people are going out in the morning and they're driving to the us. Let's have a debate. What's Pakistan up to? What is exact so is it up to? What happened in US? What are our lessons? What are our what things we are kind of going to do? Get out of it. My problem is another. I want to bring this to your notice. Is look, US has a great influence on our lives. US food, US culture across the world, not only us. US style, songs, Netflix, this Call of Duty, everything. Now, what happened in US? What I'm very worried about, a lot of people would have drawn their lessons from it. What happened with Trump? Trump survived 2 millimeters. Act of God, nothing special services to do. It was just act of God. The bullet was not 2 millimeters.
your voice is breaking a bit. Can you just bring the microphone a little closer?
Okay. Now, what happened in US is Trump survived by 2 millimeters, right? It was the act of God, nothing special services and all. Now, if what is the things what US attempted assassination tells us? This model may be copied in a lot of democracies. A lot of democracies, a lot of people will get these ideas because we have got this Call of Duty, we've got Netflix, we've got this American food, American life, American cars, pretty much a lot of American in a lot of things. So, do you think this will not travel through the world? This will travel through the world, and a new security paradigms and challenges will come up.
I think a lot of leaders have to be very careful in many countries. You are absolutely right.
We have to be very, very careful.
In addition to that, I was also surprised by the kind of news headings which were coming out after this attempted assassination, where some are saying, "Oh, after a chaos, Trump was taken away. After a popping sound, Trump was escorted out." None of these major news channels or news papers in US like Washington Post, New York Times, look at their headings. They were not saying it was an attempted assassination. So, I mean, it was surprising what we saw in the social media. And I'm just saying from that, it was apparent that an attempt is being made to cover up, which is very, very dangerous. And also, sir, that in connection to this, we also see a pattern of hitting on our fault lines. That invariably, because the nationalism narrative is being countered with caste, creed, religion, region, language, hitting on institutions, hitting on industrialists, Indian industrialists, and race. So all kinds of things are being done deliberately to create divisions within the society. And that's why I believe, sir, we need some new laws to deal with new age challenges that we are facing, where the social media is playing at times a positive role in bringing a lot of positivity, but at the same time, at times a dangerous role. And what you said is so very apt, and I must congratulate you for that. And I hope government takes notice of that. Is that social media cannot be termed as a free platform; it is a publisher.
It's a publisher.
The algorithms in your control. You are an editor. You are not a free platform.
Cannot be technically possible. How can you be when you algorithm? You control the algorithm. You can never be. So, this is all notion. We are a platform and all. What I'm worried about is what happened with the assassination attempt of President Trump and the way of the kind of cover up we are seeing on that. It is worrying. You have to also look at who owns these newspapers. Where does the money come from? Why are people buying newspapers for $200 million when they have millions of dollars are accumulated loss? It's all a narrative setting tool.
Narrative setting.
But can we depend on them? We know where the intentions are. We know where the money is. We know what are the vested interests.
A little louder. A little louder.
We know where the vested interests are. We know everything. So what are we waiting for? We cannot wait for them to come and run through our country. We have to stop them much before. So our own narratives, our own things have to come up. What you rightly pointed about, hitting on the fault lines, hitting on caste, hitting on the division. What I think we've done, somebody is telling them these are the fault lines and amplify there. So now what is happening is, earlier we had these bombs, they were code bombs. You will throw a bomb and it will create a crater. Then came laser guided bombs. You will exactly send the bomb precisely 1 meter to your location. So unfortunately, some have started using social media as that laser guided bomb, which exactly takes it where exactly you want it to go. I want this message to go to Uttaranchal. This will go to Uttaranchal. I want this message to go to south in Karnataka. Okay, the Karnataka, these districts will exactly get this message. I can tune it. I want its voice not to be heard by anybody, but I want somebody from Germany to be heard by everybody. And when you look at the person, someone alleged person, you see, the videos are not trending in India, but they're trending across the whole world. How does this happen? Who's interested in Hindi out of India? I mean, how can people in Mexico, Cuba, or Guatemala be interested in Hindi? Who's interested in Hindi? Why should they look the video? Then we have one politician here saying, oh, that person has done a video and this is the kind of traction he has got. If we are letting them blatantly go away with it, my problem is letting them blatantly go away with it, they are only emboldened. Look, at the end of the day, if you don't make it targeted to the individuals who are running this thing, social media can only amplify the content. But who's creating the content?
Right.
Who is creating the content? You have to think both the ways. So content, enhancer, which is social media, your own flavor of social media, fake news, these alleged fact checkers, and most important, when you control the situation, get on the offensive. Talk about your things, get on the thing, talk about your side, talk about how you are going to do it. What are you going to do? Identify the fault rates within the within the West. Today, do we talk a lot about West? We don't talk. We don't talk a lot about West. Are there no problems?
Interestingly, and US is the country which has been involved in every conflict since 1945.
Correct.
Been involved in so many genocidal wars. That country was built on extermination of the American Indians, and still, so somebody said it very right. What happened in United States, if it had happened in Bangladesh, imagine the kind of sermons and statements that would have come from the White House about, what India should, what Bangladesh should do about freedom of democracy, freedom of speech, humanity, human rights. And suddenly, when the same incident happens in US, it's a cover-up exercise going on.
Nobody talks about it. Because, my brother, the world has let them get away with a lot of things.
Yes,
right?
yes.
For too long. Now they believe whatever they say they do is the epitome of virtue, and is the epitome of truth. But Dr. Jaishankar Sahab rightly told them West problems cannot be our problems and our problems are not your problem. The world doesn't run like that. That notion of entitlement, aren't there fault lines within US? I'll tell you. How many people live on food tickets in America? What is the average age of a typical Black American? How many Black Americans die of diabetes and at what age? What is their access to the healthcare? I mean, I can come up with a laundry list of 50 items like this. But the challenge is, are we talking about that? When they are trying to, talk about, oh, your democracy index is very low, we should counter back. This is what it is happening. But is there an effective mechanism which is put in place to counter that? Because it is a present continuous thing. You cannot be reactive. The point I'm trying to make, we cannot be reactive now. Look, and when you're reaching the third biggest economy, which will reach in due course of time, it's a matter of 1 or 2 years. Look, we cannot wish away America. America will be there. We cannot wish away them. They will be. We have to learn to deal with American, even if the relation is transitional. If they kind of pinprick us here and there, we have to also learn the art of doing it. We cannot wish away Russians. We need to have our friendship and brotherhood with them. We have to
Just to
deal.
add, you're right, and I just want to add, sir, to you said you are absolutely right. We need good relation with everybody, and that has been the philosophy of the government, that we are not anybody's enemy. We don't want to get into the binary that either you are with us or against us.
Either ya udhar.
Yeah, we have goodwill, and there are a lot of areas of convergence with United States, just as we have areas of convergence with Russia. There are a lot of areas where we actually respect the Americans, institutions, and everything. But unfortunately, what I feel is that there's a lot of decay which is happening there, especially starting from the same universities. And that is where we find we have a problem in India also, where no disrespect to humanities department, but in many universities, the humanities departments, with the kind of funding that comes from foreign foundations, what we are teaching in the name of sociology and other humanities subjects, it is way different from ideally what this country's culture of Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti or our inclusivity actually is. It is as if we don't know anything, and so they have to tell us what is important to be done. No culture has been so concerned about the environment as the Indian ethos and culture or Sanatan Dharma has been, and no culture talks so much about the rights of women. We are the one, we actually worship the woman in the divine form, and there are innumerable instances where women went to fight for the country, for the kingdom, while tying the baby in the back with a sword in the hand. We are the country where Shikhandi was always worshipped and honored by Arjuna. Every time he met her, Shikhandi, he bowed down to him. So that is the culture that we come from, and then we are taught something distorted, and that distorted truth is being taught as an academic discourse, and we are allowing it to permeate across our top universities and institutes instead of focusing on STEM, instead of focusing on Indian culture or Indic culture. The irony is, sir, the Indic culture is being embraced in the West, even in the East, whereas we are taking literally certain kind of trash in the name of creating a casteless society. What is being done by certain elements is to create the caste fault lines all over again.
Back it again.
So I think, do you believe that we should have some kind of a control on foreign funding of Indian universities? And I firmly believe the IITs should not have humanities department. They should focus on STEM only. This is my view. Some people may not agree to that, but this is a problem that we are creating, which where everything gets justified. These are the people then get into top organizations. Some even join the government. Something is fundamentally wrong with what is being taught in universities abroad and it being brought into India as best practices.
First of all, I must compliment you. It's a brilliant question and a brilliant subject to report in. I think it's a very important part of our conversation which we have reached. I'll tell you where does this come from? What is the epitome or what is the source code of trouble? Look, we were a country which were looted and plundered. We were left literally begging and dying. Right? That is what they left us. $45 trillion was siphoned. Our average age was 42 years. Literacy rate was some 17%. We were left at the mercy of the god and vultures, if I can be very direct with you. Nobody thought from there you will come to where you have come today, and especially last 10 years under Prime Minister Modi. Stature, confidence, everything has kind of taken a reboot. Nobody expected this. Now, once you reach somewhere, now when people do our root cause analysis, what is making these people survive? Where they survive? How they're still resilient? Only thing they understand is their ethos, their dharma. That is Sanatan Dharma, that is the Hindu. Dharma, that is Hindu philosophy, that is the bedrock of their civilization's survival and sustenance. So what is happening now? They go back. They say, okay, what is this Hinduism? What is this Hindutva? Right? They go and say, "Arey, now we have evidence more than 1 lakh years old. That was the evidence of that. It's much more than that. At least the evidence is for 1 lakh years. What is available in the world today? Now, if you look at the Abrahamic faiths, 1400 years, 1700 years. So suddenly these people feel threatened. When these people rise to the top and people will start thinking about them, how did they manage? So a lot of people will get attracted to Sanatana Dharma. So if you have to dismantle bedrock of the civilization, you have to attack the source. Where does the power source come from? In the Iron Man movie, we see there's a reactor in his chest. Somebody pulls the reactor and Iron Man is down. So you have to attack that reactor. What is the reactor? That is dharma, culture, ethos. So rather than you and me being proud about what we are and what our ancestors are, we were told that you are nothing. Arey, tumhe to kuch nahi aata. Look how good is the West. Look how do we have our Christmas. Look how do we have our celebrations. Not casting aspersions on Christmas. As an example, how beautifully we do it. You wear this kurtas, you are wearing this tilak. Then we come to know, okay, Karwa Chauth is regressive. Then we come to know, Makar Sankranti is cruelty to the animals. Then we come to know Ram Navami is Hindu mobs. Then we come to know Raksha Bandhan is cruelty to animals. I don't know who it's Rakhi of leather Rakhi or Raksha Bandhan. I have not seen a person yet. So slowly start. And you are very primitive. You are a lot of dogmas. This is Sanatan Dharma. There's a lot of ritual in it.
थोड़ा वॉइस कम हो रहा है, थोड़ा वॉइस बढ़ाना पड़ेगा.
There are so many gods you have, and everything what has made you stood the test of time is attacked one by one by one by one. Let me give you 3 examples. Look, Abhinav Gupta has been one of the greatest philosophers of India. He taught in 52 universities, including UK, US, and all over the world. There are chapters on Abhinav Gupta and Shivism, and what we call as the Kashmiri Shivism. But in India, there is nobody, there is not even mention of the greatest scholar of India, Abhinav Gupta. We're in more than 50 universities. Even the IVY leagues teach him his achievements, Kashmiri Shivism. We don't have anything on Kashmiri Shivism here. We don't even know what is Kashmiri Shivism. We don't know what Abhinav Gupta is and what is his contributions. So who is our enigma, or our problem is taught and glorified in the West because we have let things happen like that. We have let them deteriorate like that. We've been trying to ape the West at a pace which is phonetically crazy and at a much personal level. Second point. Now you talk about, we have NASA satellites today. For the last 20, 30 years, NASA tells us there is going to be a solar eclipse this day, that day, 1 month in advance. Brother, let me take you to 5,000 years back. We have this panchang you get for 30 rupees. On the 1st of the January, this will tell you exactly what is going to come in the year, and we are accurate by 100%. We don't need a 20 billion or a $10 billion satellite to tell us 1 month before. 1st of January, when you buy the Panchanga, that will tell you exactly all the events. And we have been publishing this for 5,000 years. How many of our kids know about it? No, we don't know what it is. We have talked about the energy, right? What is energy? Shiva and Shakti. We talked about how Shakti is doing the Sanchalan of the universe. Now, what is the people talking about? Energy and God particle. Energy and God particle. So there are so many things which are embedded in our ethos which make us feel great and which will ultimately other faiths to come to the realms of our civilization and our dharma. In order to kind of stop that and let not the power transform ultimately, what are you trying? You're systematically trying to identify those points and try to destabilize it. जैसे आपको एक चीज बताता हूँ. The usual notion is, Hindus have 33 crore, 33 crores of Devi Devtas. But you know what is the reality? The reality is 33 koti. 33 koti. It is not 33 crore. Basically, 33 kinds of Devi Devtas are not. It is not 33 crores. So these are the notions which are distorted in a way. When you talk about metaverse today, there's a concept of metaverse, right? There's a metaverse, and we are existing in multiple time zones. I'll tell you, there's a notion which goes like when Bhagwan Sri Ram thought that he had to go, but he was very worried that Hanumanji will not let Yamraj enter Ayodhya. He'll never let him enter Ayodhya. What did Bhagwan Sri Ram do? He took a ring from his finger and dropped in a hole in the palace. He asked Hanumanji, can you go and find this? Hanumanji had this capability of reducing his size. He went there. Here he meets the Vasuki Nag. He says, why are you here in the Patalok? He said, I'm come to take the ring of Bhagwan Sri Ram. He dropped it. He said, which ring do you want? He said, which ring do you want? He said, look here. So then Vasuki shows him there are so many parallelly universes going on, and everywhere there's a Bhagwan Shri Ram, and everywhere there's a ring globe. Which universe wants to go here? Then suddenly this concept of metaverse, what we talk today, and this is documented not by me, brother. This was documented thousands of years back. ये मैं story नहीं बता रहा हूँ आपको. This is documented thousands of years back. There are so many things about, when we today say,
It's multiverse, right?
huh?
So the multiverse you're talking about.
Multiverse, yeah, multiverse, and what we call metaverse also. That is kind of documented thousands of years back. When we talk about Shivalinga, Shivalinga is elliptical. How are your all the orbits? The elliptical. What does Shivalinga mean? Shivalinga means the storage of energy. It's an object, it is a shape wherein the energy is stored. And what is energy? Energy is Shakti. And what runs the universe? Energy. Without energy, the universe doesn't end. So we worship energy as Shakti. And what is the Shakti? Adi Shakti. Now energy has various rupas. You start from Tara and you go to Ma Matangi. There are various forms of energy, Kali, Matangi, and all that you go on. So what forms of energy are there? Then we have Durga, then we have Chandi, then we have Kali, then we have Tara, we have Tripur Sundari. So we have various forms of energy. Then we have various kinds of bhairavs. Now what are we talking about? You go to Varanasi, you will see life and death coexist. From Dashmesh Ghat to Manikarnika Ghat, you will see life and death coexist. Right? So we have so much to offer, but this all is being attacked systematically. When our youth are told whatever all is written, ye to bhai, history, this is all a fairy tale. This doesn't exist. But when the kind of questions are really
history, they have termed it. The ancient Indian history has been termed as mythology.
हाँ mythology है ना, story है ये सब कुछ बकवास है. Now when we give the hardcore facts out, I mean I can narrate 50 other instances, but when we give out these hardcore facts out, they have no answers. How are we able to print this Panchang in 30 rupees for 5,000 years and predict what your 10 billion satellite is able to do for last 30 years? We had to give 5,000 years, and I am spending 30 rupees on it, and I'm doing what will happen. You are telling me 1 month before the occurrence, and you are using this high funded technology and all. It's not, they are not contributing to the world, but our ethos has been compromised. So where do you attack, brother? You attack at the university level. You say science is better than all this. While what did Einstein say? Einstein said science and spirituality are two sides of the same coin. I'm quoting Albert Einstein. How many times did Albert Einstein visit Kashi? 8 times or 7 times. He said without Hindu spirituality, there is no science. Didn't. And what is the relevance of 108 in every Manak Mala or all? We have 108. 108 has so much of relevance. When you get into it, there's so much of relevance to it. So when we talk about the greatest mathematicians, Arabat, who invented the medical science? Charak. Where did the plastic surgery come from? Shrishta. So Abhinav Gupta, Charak, Shrishta, Varha Mira, Ramanujan, so many of these, luminaries who have given the world. But what do we know? You ask a kid, even if I will ask my son, he will know Aristotle, he will know Socrates, but he will not know, he will not know Varha Mira, he will know who is Charak, he will not know who is Shrishta. Whose problem is it? And then we glorify the invaders by saying Akbar the Great. Here, I'm not trying to take it to the other side, but I have to tell you this, Pratik ji. The 3 major Johars happened in the history in Chittor. Who did under whose invasion did the biggest Johar happen, where our 8,000 Rajput sisters and children were burned alive, had to kill themselves, had to burn themselves in the fire? It was Akbar. And we will talk about the Deg in Ajmer. If we go into the history of that, we'll be shattered how does Deg came. I'm not getting into that. But we are not be truthful about the history. Let's be truthful about the history. And when nothing happened in Chittorgarh, Akbar ordered 40,000 Hindus to be slaughtered. He could not find anything in Chittorgarh. And a lot of people ask me this question. I have to tell you today. People say, why did our sisters and our daughters then do Johar? They could have killed themselves, put the sword and kill.
Yeah, to keep the purity of the body. Yeah,
even necrophilia. Invaders were even used in necrophilia. So when the body was burnt to ashes, with the necrophilia was impossible. Let's talk about it. When the Germans can talk about the concentration camps, they can talk about Hitler. What has Germany done when they talk about the concentration camps and all? They say, look, I have nothing to do with Hitler. Hitler was a crazy person. He did what he had to do. He was a German, but we have nothing to do with it. We don't resonate with him. Today, as on date, does anybody have a name as a Hitler as a child? Does anybody still name Hitler as a child? No. But here, you can find the child names from everybody. And we have even a child name in the name of Tamur. And Tamur slaughtered 4.5% of the population. He slaughtered maximum number of Hindus in Delhi. He built these pyramids of Hindu, heads, shaved Hindu heads. we have to call it out. Let people know what let people know what the history is. Because if we are not proud of our civilization and our roots, brother, we will not be able to carry the flag to the next generation and to the next generation. And that is what this is done. That is why universities are the target. When you are youth, you are high on hormones, those biological changes are happening in the body. At that point of time, you are infested with the virus. I call it the virus. The virus is put into you that point of time. This virus gives them the longevity of next 50 to 70 years. That is why universities are not chosen. If we don't refine and redefine our curriculums, if we are not unapologetic about our past, we're not blaming anybody for what Akbar or Babur did. We're not blaming anybody. But let's call it out what they did. How many people know about, for example, we're talking about this great guy.
In fact, what I just want to add one thing. There has been so many famines even before the Bengal famine. There
Correct.
was a Tamil Nadu which was created by the British, and
Correct.
nobody even talks about it. The kind of famine that India faced, major famines during the British era, those were man-made famines. Unfortunately, our history books do not talk about it at all, and we are still reading something which, literally, in some way, it's a kind of a glorification of even what the British did to India. Some places I was horrified to hear that it's a kind of a justification even for the British colonial past that we have. So, anyways, sir, we have a paucity of time, so we have. I will continue with these discussions again in the future. It's
Sure.
always a pleasure listening to you. But I still believe that this whole disinformation warfare that has been unleashed on us has not happened today. It has been going on since 1947. Today, it has only got amplified more because of the use of tech, and we need to have some kind of a measure to deal with it. There is no problem with political opposition. There's no problem with political discourses. There's no problem with having an alternate view. But the problem is primarily with disinformation and hiding the truth. The
Correct.
problem is we not being conscious enough about what is being taught in our universities, especially those where the foundations, foreign foundations, are funding it. And instead of focusing on the Indic culture, we are importing certain philosophies which has already decayed the American society. I always say this, my concluding thought, with your permission. US have nothing against that country per se. It was a great country at one point of time, perhaps, but today we see a country where a 20-year-old guy can attempt to shoot a president, ex-president, or any other day he would be going to a school and shoot kids.
Anyway,
You have assault rifles available freely. Don't stay with their parents. Most of the time, they don't have connect with their cousins. Most of the time, they don't know what a larger family. They don't know what the meaning of society and community means. Mostly, they suffer from loneliness. Many have depression problems. They fall on narcotics, and all that they get happiness from is pure and just buying, purchasing things. That also with credit cards. So consumption-based happiness.
consumption based.
Shoot because you are so much embedded into violent video games, and you're so frustrated. You have no sense of compulsion or responsibility towards the society. You just go and shoot. So in a country where kids go to school wearing bulletproof jackets in many places, if not everywhere, the question is, are we to embrace that as a benchmark that we should follow?
No, I think my ending comment on this, which you beautifully summed it up. See, the failure of US, I was stunned to see one picture one day. I saw Anthony Blinken's landing in Iraq, the Secretary of State, Foreign Minister. He was wearing a bulletproof jacket. Imagine the foreign United States of America has to wear a bulletproof jacket when he lands in Iraq.
Voice is
And
breaking.
that is the kind of society you have created. That is the kind of world order you have created. Your Secretary of State fears a bullet might come and hit him. You have to put a bulletproof jacket on. What is happening in US? They are the biggest consumers of antidepressants in the world.
You have to come nearer to the laptop, I think.
In US, they are biggest consumer of the antidepressants in the world. They are
Yeah, yeah.
biggest consumers of the anti-histamine medicines in the world, and the amount of fentanyl which is in US that is good enough to wipe out 5 states. And fentanyl is a one-way path. There's no way you can come. With all these problems having within every 100 days, you are increasing the debt by $1 trillion. Your credit card debts are all-time high. Your student loans are all-time high. Your debt is all-time high. Your printing of the money is not happening. Every things are getting out of the control. You have let 75 lakh people enter your US because you wanted them to vote. All the things were, and the problem with the US is, Pratik, that brother, there's one slang what they say there. And money talks, shit walks. It's as simple as that. These lobbies and all. What is lobbying? Organized corruption is lobbying. You have kind of legitimized corruption in the name of lobbying. So today I can lobby for anything and it is legal. Organized corruption is lobbying. When this culture creeps into the country, and when you are saying this, what you brilliantly said, that happiness by consumerism. And when last year or 2 years we say every second day there's a mass shooting, something is drastically wrong. And this is not the values we want to definitely bring it to our country. This is not what we are. If we just let our kids and our youth know how great our civilization is and has been, what is the dharma about, what is the karma about, I think we have won 80% of the battle. Are we ready to do that? Are we still ready to ape the West? That is the challenge we have to face and ultimately address one day, because time is running out. The window is short. We don't have a lot of time.
So thank you so much on that note. But I think there's a problem with the voice, so you have to work with, maybe you have to take a headphone or something.
Sure.
But because you speak so brilliantly, even if one sentence is missed out, I think it's a loss for the audience. That's the reason I'm saying this to you. So on that note, we end today's conversation. We will have similar conversations again in future. Thank you so much for having this time for us. I, on behalf of SPMRF, thank you for this.
Thank you. I thank SPMRF for the opportunity. I'd really love to be here. Thank you very much. Stay blessed. Namaskar.
Thank you.